The so-called Martyrs Day has been hijacked by political opportunists like Omar, Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti. They are peddling a dangerous lie, dressing up writers from 1931 uprising against Dogra rule as some noble heroes and comparing them to India's greatest freedom fighters. Viewers, it's an important debate, a story that has been buried by the ecosystem, because maybe they don't know what happened in 1931, or they are turning a blind eye deliberately. What's happening is a blatant distortion of history, a cheap stunt to grab votes by stoking old wounds. Watch your screens. From Omar's theatrical wall scaling to Mufti's outrageous insults to Mahatma Gandhi and Bhagat Singh are a slap in the face of India's true martyrs. Worse, their rhetoric reeks of the same mindset that glorifies terrorists like Burhan Wani. Let's rip apart this sham and expose the truth, viewers. Let's set the record straight. The 1931 uprising in Srinagar was no heroic freedom struggle. Let's first get that straight. It was a messy, violent outburst sparked by economic hardship, yes, and religious fervor. Yes, there were real grievances against the Dogra monarchy's heavy taxes and discrimination, but the protests spiraled into chaos. Mobs did not just target the state. They looted shops, attacked police, and in some cases turned on Hindu and Sikh minorities. When the Dogra forces fired on the crowd, on the mob, 21 people died. Tragic? Absolutely. But it was not heroic. These were not disciplined freedom fighters, but a mob of writers, viewers. To call them martyrs is to rewrite history with a blatant agenda. Viewers, Omar Abdullah takes this lie to a new low by comparing July 13th to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. There is zero comparison here. Jallianwala Bagh in 1919 saw British troops slaughter hundreds of unarmed Indians, men, women, children, gathered peacefully in a garden, in a park. It was a cold-blooded act of imperial cruelty that shocked the world and galvanized our freedom struggle. July 13th, 1931 was nothing like that. Omar's analogy is a disgusting insult to Jallianwala Bagh's victims. His dramatic act of scaling a wall, like the picture that's playing out, to reach the Martyrs Graveyard is pure political theatre, nothing else. And it's less about honoring the dead and more about appeasement. Viewers, Mehbooba Mufti is even more shameless. She dares to compare the July 13th rioters to Mahatma Gandhi and Bhagat Singh. Yes, let that sink in. Gandhi, the global icon of non-violence, spent his life uniting India through peaceful resistance. Bhagat Singh, a revolutionary hero, gave his life at 23 for a free united India, bombing the British Assembly to protest colonial oppression. These men are sacred to India's soul. To compare them to a mob that looted, rioted and fueled communal tension is beyond offensive. It's a betrayal of everything they stood for. Mufti's stunt is for votes and votes alone. And this martyr's narrative echoes the glorification of Burhan Wani, a terrorist whose encounter in 2016 sparked riots. Sample the reactions, then we open this up.
कहने के लिए तो ये कहते हैं ये आजाद मुल्क है, लेकिन बीच बीच में ये लोग समझते हैं हम उनके गुलाम हैं। हम किसी के गुलाम नहीं हैं। हम अगर गुलाम हैं तो यहाँ के लोगों के गुलाम हैं। हमने इनकी कोशिशों को नाकामयाब किया। इन्होंने हमें पकड़ने की कोशिश की, हमारे झंडे को फाड़ने की कोशिश की। हम आए, हमने फातिहा पढ़ा।
ये तो डेमोक्रेसी में नहीं हो सकता। हम लोग पूरा इस इशू में उमर अब्दुल्ला का साथ है। हम लोग इसको कंडेम करते हैं।
निंदनीय है कि एक चुने हुए मुख्यमंत्री को अनइलेक्टेड पुलिस और अनइलेक्टेड दिल्ली का प्रशासन यहां से कंट्रोल करने की कोशिश कर रहा है। चुने हुए नेताओं को नजरबंद किया जा रहा है।
हम कानून बनाने वालों में हैं, कानून को हाथ में लेने वालों में नहीं होते हैं। चीफ मिनिस्टर अगर पुलिस से लड़ाई कर रहा है तो प्रोवोक होके वहां का लड़का भी पत्थर लेके सड़क पे आएगा।
Let's open this up. Sanju Verma, the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Tehseen Poonawala, Sushil Pandit, Tausif Shah, senior leader of the PDP, Professor Monojit Mondal, political analyst, Imran Nabi Dar, spokesperson of the National Conference, will be with us shortly. Tausif Shah, is there a difference between 1931 Martyrs Day and Jallianwala Bagh? What is Mehbooba Mufti trying to say? Your martyrs versus our martyrs?
Yeah, hi, Mr. Pranab. Thanks to all of my fellow panelists and to you also. I would like to start with my point that you have been maligning the history of Jammu and Kashmir. Do you know what is the day that these martyrs are about? This was a fight against the Dogra rulers. There was no India and there was no Pakistan those days. There were no communal rights those days. You started the program with this word that there were थोड़े से हमले हुए हिंदूज पर भी या हमारे सिख्स पर भी, but you need to know that they all were together on that day sitting outside the central jail. They were waiting for the एक वहां पे हमारे freedom fighter थे, I don't remember his name, वहां पर एक उनका ट्रायल चल रहा था. They were waiting for the trial, they were waiting for the outcome of the trial. So in the meantime the नमाज टाइम आ रहा है.
तौसीफ शाह, मैं बहुत रेस्पेक्टफुली आपसे दूसरी बार पूछ रहा हूं. आई डोंट वांट टू गेट इनटू योर डेफिनेशन और लॉजिक ऑफ व्हाट इज अ फ्रीडम फाइटर, हु इज अ फ्रीडम फाइटर. उसके लिए शो कम पड़ जाएगा और आप उठ के चले भी जाएंगे, ये भी मैं बता दूं. मैं आपसे एक सीधा सवाल पूछ रहा हूं. महबूबा मुफ्ती इज कंपेयरिंग दीज राइटर्स विद महात्मा गांधी एंड भगत सिंह. इज दैट फेयर? दैट्स माय क्वेश्चन, सर.
Sir, you cannot send a wrong version out. You have to hear to me. You have to hear to me what exactly happened there, because that is history. You cannot change the history. You have been changing the history since last approximately 14 years. You have to hear to it, please. So, they were waiting for the outcome of the trial, what trial is going to come out. In the meantime, Namaz time arrived and one person stood up to give azan. And straight away he was fired by the Dogra military man. And simultaneously, when he was killed, another man stood up to complete the azan. So it was approximately 22 people died giving the azan. This is the truth about the martyrs. This is the truth about the martyrs, and this is the day when the last
तौसीफ
martyr
शाह, अभी
died.
तो आपने बोला कि इससे यहाँ पे कुछ भी कम्युनल नहीं था, सब एक साथ थे. तो फिर ये क्या एग्जाम्पल दे के क्या बताना चाह रहे हैं आप?
What example? This is the history. There's nothing like there were no communal rights. You started your debate with the word that they were writers, they were वो आपके हिसाब से they were the militants. आपके हिसाब से they were the militants.
सर एक बात बताइए. ओके, 1931 बहुत पीछे जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, अभी 2016 की बात करते हैं. तौसीफ शाह, अब इसका जवाब दीजिए. बुरहान वानी क्या था? फ्रीडम फाइटर था या टेररिस्ट था?
Either you talk about 2025, either you talk about
बुरहान वानी क्या था? तौसीफ शाह, डोंट रन अवे नाउ. आई टोल्ड यू, आई गेव यू 2 अपॉर्चुनिटीज. ये आपने, you have forced me to ask you this question. Who was Burhan Wani? Was he a freedom fighter, revolutionary, or a terrorist?
No voice.
वॉइस नहीं आ रही है ना? वॉइस नहीं आएगी सर, मैं बता रहा हूं ना. वॉइस आएगी ना इसका जवाब आएगा. सुशील पंडित, let's set the story in context for our viewers.
Yes. Thank you. The person he is calling a freedom fighter whose trial was continuously disrupted, repeatedly disrupted, was a man called Abdul Qadir. He was not even a Kashmiri. He was brought in by a British resident, Mr. Latimer, to Srinagar as a cook from Peshawar. He was an Ahmadi. This man seized the mic on Eid at Khanqa-e-Maula and delivered a fiery speech liberally quoting from Quran, saying it is haram for Muslims to be ruled by a kafir king. He said, we are in majority, we must rise up and throw this king out. his reasons were Quran, Kafir king, Hindu king. And he also said, in order to flout his laws, we must resort to cow slaughter, which was banned under law. The sedition charges were pressed. His trial and his arrest were resisted repeatedly, so the trial was moved to the central jail where people could not come in. Then these rioters surrounded the central jail. They could not come in because the gates and walls were high. So they surrounded the gates, but they were raving and ranting outside. Meanwhile, regular prisoners who were taken to the courts were being brought back at the end of their trial to jail, to be put back there. And this crowd fell upon these small bunch of policemen and these prisoners who were brought back from the courts. Looking at their colleagues cornered, the guards, jail guards, opened the gates to reach some help to them. These prisoners were freed. And then the crowd entered the jail, repeated requests, lathi charge, all kinds of entreaties failed. They resorted to violence. They resorted to violence against the judge and the policemen and tried to disrupt the jail itself. That is when a firing was ordered and they dispersed. That is not the end of it. They regrouped, and this time they not just targeted police, they targeted the Hindus and Sikhs. They targeted the ordinary citizens who were unarmed and innocent, had nothing to do with it. The riots started at Vicharnag. The riots spread to Maharajganj. My house is barely 100 meters from Maharajganj.
Right.
The entire market was vandalized and targeted.
You see, Mr. Pandit, your version of history is being contested here by the PDP spokesperson Tausif Shah, and now we have been joined by Imran Nabidar, spokesperson of the National Conference. He has his hand up. Imran Dar, go ahead, sir.
I expect the kind of monologue that you give to this right-wing hate monger, you would allow us to
1 minute, Mr. Dar, let's not get personal with each other. Make your point. Let's not call, people hate monger, etc., because then you'll be embarrassed. So let's stick to the topic that we are discussing. Please, let's not do this, Mr. Dar. It's not fair to the viewer who's watching. Please.
Is completely false. It is fake. It has no historical credence. Whatever he's quoting, he's not quoting from any reliable source. These are stories made up in RSS headquarters and to demean and to malign Kashmiri Muslim struggle and a just struggle against a monarchy, against an unjust system. It was not against an individual. The fight was not against an individual. The fight was against a system which was oppressive, which was meant to target not only Muslim peasants but Hindus, Dalits across Jammu and Kashmir. The only problem I see in this whole narrative is, when you celebrate revolutionaries across the country, you celebrate them. Not you, the right wing, which is questioning the authenticity of these martyrs. It is because of their religion. They are Muslims. That is why it is being questioned. Otherwise, they are revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh is, like other revolutionaries who fought against the British.
Oh.
So we need.
Okay,
yes, exactly. This is the point. So this is particularly, these are unfortunate for these 1931 martyrs.
Mr. Dar, and what would you say about the comparison that Omar Abdullah has drawn, comparing this to Jallianwala Bagh? Is that fair, sir?
Absolutely. These people also fought against an unjust system. You need to understand, who was this Maharaja working for? Maharaja Hari Singh, all the Maharajas in the undivided India, who were they? Actually, they were protected by the British paramounters. So they were indirectly working for the British. They were there because British let them rule the subjects. So it was not something that was unique to Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay.
There are multiple instances.
Mr. Dar, then answer one simple question. Okay, and correct my sense of history, my version of history. Why did the British officers open fire on people who had gathered peacefully in Jallianwala Bagh? Why?
The history is there for everyone to read.
You tell me.
Why are you?
Why did the British open fire? Was there, okay, was there, let me rephrase this, was there any provocation from the people who got fired upon?
Provocation there. Similarly, there was no provocation here. These people, they were offering namaz.
Sir, there is a book. Mr. Dar, there is a book. It's called The Warning of Kashmir, 1931. The author's name is G.S. Raghavan. Read it. I have the book here, the portions highlighted. I don't want to, waste time by quoting from the book. Let me bring in Sanju Verma. Sanju Verma, the opposition is not just the National Conference. The opposition is saying that, look, what the BJP is doing to an elected chief minister.
Pranesh, first and foremost, I completely and unequivocally condemn the comparison between what happened on 13th April 1919 by way of the ghastly Jallianwala Bagh massacre, thanks to a man called General Dyer, who closed both the entry and exit points, and unarmed civilians were butchered. And look at the audacity of Omar Abdullah. He compares 13th April 1919 to what happened today. 13th July, why should it be celebrated as Martyrs Day? Irrespective of whether you like or you dislike Maharaja Hari Singh, there is no reason to compare what protesters did and Maharaja Hari Singh's reaction thereafter with what happened by way of the brutal massacre by General Dyer against unarmed civilians. That's point number one. Point number two, Omar Abdullah keeps invoking the tyranny of the unelected. So let me tell you, Mr. Omar Abdullah, Jammu and Kashmir elections in 2024 were the first in 10 years, went off very smoothly with an average voter turnout of 67%. 2024 Jammu Kashmir elections were also the first elections after the abrogation of Article 370 in 2019. Places like Baramulla, Kupwara, Srinagar, Rajouri, Poonch, places where voters earlier were scared to come out and vote. Some of these places like Riyasi actually recorded a 76% voter turnout. Let me also say one more thing, Mr. Omar Abdullah. When there were floods in Kashmir in 2010, 2012, you were hiding in a cave under a rock and you said, Jammu and Kashmir is deep, knee deep in water. What can I do as CM? I'm completely helpless. It was the NDRF, the CRPF, the Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force, the Indian Army which came to the rescue of ordinary Jammu and Kashmiri civilians. So please don't talk about the so-called tyranny of the unelected. And let me say one more thing. I always say, Pranesh, terrorists are people who you can identify and you can take the necessary action to neutralize them. What do you do with the intellectual cover fire that is given to terrorists by the so-called intelligentsia, by the so-called biggies in politics, and by the so-called biggies in bureaucracy? Omar Abdullah, by comparing 13th July, so-called Martyrs Day, with Jallianwala Bagh, has shown that he is ready to give.
And it's not just Omar Abdullah alone, viewers. It's Mehbooba Mufti, and which is why we are saying that this is a rerun of the Burhan mindset. Before I bring in Tehseen, let me bring in Mr. Dar once again. Mr. Dar, Omar Abdullah had said when Kashmir is now quiet, he means the BJP, they want to set it on fire again. Now, he was replying to a question on Kashmir Chalo rally of the youth wing of the BJP and its plan to hoist the tricolour at Lal Chowk on January 26th. Now, how would you respond?
Respond to what? As in, what is the question?
Respond to this, sir. This principle that a rally, the aim of the rally is to go and, hoist the tricolour at the Lal Chowk. That is being stopped. Mr. Abdullah says this is an attempt to set Kashmir on fire. And if the administration had put in curbs here, why is an elected chief minister behaving so recklessly?
Why aren't you questioning the LG government, which actually there was no restriction order today? Let me give a context to what we are discussing here. Umar Sahab, yesterday there were restrictions. They didn't went out. No leader came out of their houses. All of us were illegally confined to our homes. Today, there was no restriction. There was no order from the DC, from the district commissioner's office. In spite of that, an elected chief minister was not allowed to enter into a graveyard where he would just offer a fatiha and pray for souls of the dead. I mean, what wrong?
Souls of the dead, and he's comparing it to Jallianwala Bagh. And for you, it is right. Tehseen, you have the tricolor as a tattoo on your left arm, if I'm not wrong. Let's put politics aside. How would you, describe this comparison by Omar Abdullah?
Thank you for having me on the show, Pranesh. Irrespective of what anyone says, the fact is an elected chief minister should not be stopped by the state police, period. And I'll give your viewers one example before I end, because I know the time will be short. Let's assume tomorrow, hypothetically, the nation is being run for some reason, which in my view would be unconstitutional, by the President of India, not on the aid and advice of the Prime Minister of India, like the LG is running this, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. And then the Prime Minister, popularly elected Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, decides to do something which you may not agree to, Pranesh, or I may not agree to, and he's stopped by the police. Would you agree with it? The first three words of our constitution are "we the people." We the people have elected Omar Abdullah. You can disagree with him. You can say what he's doing is wrong, and I give you that freedom. But for the police of a union territory to stop an elected chief minister this way is unacceptable. That's not what great democracies do.
Oh, wonderful. Students who protest in Telangana are detained, then it is okay. Opposition leaders who protest outside the Telangana assembly are detained, lathi charge, then it's okay. But look how the opposition is now saying that, look, this is undeclared emergency, etc., etc. And Tehseen, you haven't answered my question. Is it right to compare this with Jallianwala Bagh?
Look, no two tragedies can ever be compared, ever. Jallianwala Bagh is a very unfortunate event in our history, the most unfortunate event in our freedom struggle. But 130 innocent citizens here, then of undivided India, also were shot dead. You may agree, disagree with their reasons for Abdul Qadir in protesting, but they were unarmed, they were shot dead. And if somebody wants to go and recite prayers there, you can again disagree.
They were also freedom fighters. Sushil Pandit.
They were rioters. This was the largest program unleashed on Hindus and Sikhs, the non-Muslims of Kashmir, in the last 100 years. After medieval tyranny, in modern history of Kashmir, this was the first time minorities of Kashmir were relentlessly targeted for months. Entire state was engulfed, far-flung areas. And there are reports by the British resident, by the British Prime Minister, by the Home Secretary. There are telegrams. They went and saw the destruction of temples, the gurdwaras. They saw the deaths. They saw the forced conversion. They saw the loot. It is all on paper. It is by villages. It is by names. It is by date and time. How much can you refute?
Mr. Dar, how much can you refute?
No, I would suggest Mr. Sushil Pandit and the right-wing ecosystem to go and read Mr. Premnath Bazaz, a prolific Pandit writer who has written volumes about 1931 incident. Go and read Pandit Nath Bazaz. It is, I am not suggesting a Muslim writer. It is Premnath Bazaz is a Kashmiri Pandit who has written exclusively on this, on the incident. So I'm not speaking for them. If you not believe me, go and read Premnath Pandit Bazaz and you will get your answers.
Quick response, Mr. Pandit Sanju Verma. I'm coming to you after this.
On these events, I'm talking about eyewitnesses. I'm talking about those who intervened, went there, surveyed, asked, talked to people, the victims and the survivors. He wrote a reportage much later on an opinion piece, and Premnath Bazaz was the same gentleman who wanted Kashmir to go to Pakistan. Let every one of your viewers know, yes, he was a Kashmiri Pandit, but we have Kashmiri Pandits who have done such things in the past as well. That doesn't absolve him at all. At all. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was a Gujarati. What do you mean then? He broke up India. Does that implicate all Gujaratis? No. So what if he was a Kashmiri Pandit? We have had such names that we are ashamed of in history. That doesn't give gold standard to this.
Sanju
Not at
Verma.
all.
You know, Pranesh, I always say that the problem is actually with the mindset. अफजल हम शर्मिंदा है, तेरे कातिल जिंदा है. भारत तेरे टुकड़े होंगे इंशाअल्लाह इंशाअल्लाह. गुस्ताखे रसूल की एक ही सजा, सरतन से जुदा, सरतन से जुदा. At the nub of the problem, the crux of the issue is radical Islamist terror being mollycoddled by those in the corridors of power, and in this case, no less than the sitting Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Omar Abdullah.
Okay, you believe this is blatant appeasement. Let's bring in Monojit Mondal. He hasn't spoken. Mr. Dar, I'll bring you in. Let me quickly bring in Monojit Mondal. Professor Mondal, what do you think of this? Bizarre comparisons. First, the comparison by Omar Abdullah that this is our Jallianwala Bagh, and then by Mehbooba Mufti, who's saying that your martyrs versus our martyrs. Mahatma Gandhi, Bhagat Singh.
No, I'm no longer astounded by the kind of British ways of distorting facts that you and that nauseating hate-monger, quite rhetorical, English-speaking, elite hate-monger was doing. He was going by the British report.
Professor Mondal,
everyone
just mind your language, nothing else. It's okay. You can get angry, upset by the commentary. But you can call, if you have a problem with what I have said, call me out on facts. Which bit do you not endorse or which is not right? Tell me.
Facts. How do I call you out on facts? You are, making me wait for 20 minutes and not even giving me 20 seconds. What the hell do you call me for? Don't call me for this kind of things.
You add substance to the debate.
You go to history, you go to any bare kind of history that everyone talks about this being the first big freedom movement for the Kashmiris. Everyone. Go to the other historians. Don't go by the British historians and the stooges of the British that you have in your studio. The real disciples of the transformed Savarkar. Transformed Savarkar, I repeat. What are you talking about? Then what do you call Chori Chora was a disaster where 22 British police were killed? Mind you, for God's sake, they were serving the British. The police who opened fire along with the Dogras, they were also in alliance with the British. Mr. Raj Hari Singh was a collaborator. He did not come to India. He was forced because of the...
Professor Mondal, this was not an... 1 minute. This was no, targeted attack on the ruler. Get the facts right. People were targeted. Minorities were targeted. People from minority communities were targeted. Professor Mondal, so, only so much for the outrage. Full marks for that. But where's the substance? And then you say that, bolne nahi diya, this, that, the other. Sushil Pandit.
Pranesh, no amount of fabrication and concoction is going to wash the blemishes of this riot unleashed on, we, the Hindus of Kashmir, had suffered through the centuries. Dogra rule stabilized some kind of peace, some semblance of survival was possible.
Okay.
But this unraveled, this particular incident, even today, is recalled by our older folks and their children who call it 88 nu Shorash. Because, if you put Vikrami Samvat 57 years to 1931, it becomes 88.
But they call you a hate monger. You see, Sushil Pandit, you've heard it from the second panelist now, Professor Mondal, Mr. Dar, they share this sentiment that you're a hate monger. Mr. Dar, counter Mr. Pandit on facts.
No, the facts are there for everybody to see. Go and read any credible historical account and you will come to know what the exact, why these people, these unarmed civilians were shot dead the way they were shot dead. I mean, why we were celebrating it? This narrative that is being spread on the TV studios is a narrative that has come from the right-wing political parties across the country. It has its genesis in the British narrative. They are spreading. They are the ones who are actually amplifying the British narrative against a credible freedom movement. So my request to everybody in the panel is, please go and read authentic history.
Authentic history has been distorted. That's the problem. Sanju Verma, you have the last word.
Thank you. You know, the entire narrative, BJP should read up on history, blah, blah, blah. You know, with no offense to Professor Mandal, let me tell you that in protest against the Rowlatt Act, in protest against the Jallianwala Bagh of 1919, one of the greatest icons of West Bengal, Rabindranath Tagore, surrendered his knighthood after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. And you should be ashamed, being a Rabindranath Tagore Bhakt, which you proclaim you are, you're sitting here and equating Jallianwala Bagh massacre to the Martyrs' Day, which is nothing but a backdoor way of mollycoddling rabid Islamists. And I just want to say one last thing, Pranesh. Girija Tikku, Tikalai Taplu, Squadron Leader Ravi Khanna, Justice Neelkant Ganju. Next you will say that you should put them on the same pedestal as Yasin Malik of JKLF.
They will. Let's bring in Tausif Shah. I asked him a question and you know there was a problem in the line. Tausif Shah, is Burhan Wani a freedom fighter or a terrorist?
Let me first reply to BJP.
Sir, answer this
is what
question.
I want to say, that he was just now again saying that. I'll reply that question, but let me come to the debate first. Don't try to change the track of the debate.
Sir, यही debate है.
Speak first. Your BJP Sanju Verma was saying.
Tausif Shah, यही debate है. Tausif भाई क्यों? Why do you have a problem with this question? I can change my question. आप बताइए. आपके हिसाब से, whatever you want to answer, I will ask. Do you have a problem with this question?
Right. If she was now she was speaking about 1991 militancy. What about the जो यहाँ पर lynchings हुई? Should we speak about the 130 lynchings?
State sanctioned थी sir. Those lynchings were state sanctioned.
In the name of cow. Should we speak on that?
Tausif
What
Shah,
is she saying?
Tausif Shah, answer one simple question. Who was Burhan Wani, a terrorist or a freedom fighter?
He doesn't know. They are maligning.
Forget the BJP. Tausif Shah, you know your history, you know your country. 1 minute. Tausif Shah, why are you so agitated? Relax. Answer this question. I'm asking you for the 5th time. Who was Burhan Wani, a terrorist or a freedom fighter?
Verma about Godse. Now she was trying to give it a Muslim.
I am condemning Godse. Will you condemn Burhan Wani?
To give it a Muslim color.
I am condemning Godse. Will you condemn Burhan Wani?
In 1932,
Tausif bhai, जवाब दे दीजिए. Burhan Wani was a terrorist. But you don't want to answer the question. The people can see through this stunt on national television. Why do you have a problem with this question? Just say yes or no. Yes, he was a terrorist.
जो गांधी की effigy पर.
Sir, you should not be talking about Gandhi's people who disrespect Tiranga. You remember what Mehbooba Mufti said? Nobody will be here to give shoulder to Tiranga. Something to this effect. Mehbooba Mufti should not be taking names of Mahatma Gandhi, Bhagat Singh or any of our patriots. You just focus on Burhan Wani and the likes. That's all. Let's move on. I thank some of you for joining us. Mr. Dar, thank you for taking out time.